I'm going live with my notebook.
What is up? We are live.
Hi, everybody.
We're going to be talking about some. So, Andreas, you were on your show earlier talking about this band in Boston.
True. Yeah, Stefan was bringing this up because he's in Brighton, and apparently it's an interesting history, a convoluted history. I remember hearing about a guy who bought a book, the rights to a book that was about flower cultivation, and he got it banned in Boston so that he could turn it into a bestseller. Because he figured if it was banned in Boston, then you could put that on the title, "Banned in Boston," and people would buy the book. And he was like talking about, do you realize what they're teaching our children about the birds and the bees? It was amazing.
Yeah, so Brighton is this area, and out past it's out way on the Green Line. If anyone goes to Boston, Lower Alston, Brighton, it's a big student area. A lot of students live there or move there when they graduate. A lot of the colleges and universities in around the Boston area. But the interesting history of Boston, have these old maps we were just looking at, and it used to be a peninsula. Originally, it was a peninsula, and they filled in most of the bodies of water, and then built, bridges across. The Leonard Zakim Bridge is now the bridge to goes across to Charlestown. Then they had the Atlantic Ave, which came through here and wiped out most of these neighborhoods to build 95, the big highway that goes through here. That's current day Orange Street, South End or Orange Street. That's I
mean, look at, can you zoom in a little bit to the Star Fort? What'd you call it? The castle?
Yeah.
That's nuts right there.
So they had a Star Fort here called Fort Hill, which says it's on Batterymarch on Belcher's Lane. South Street down here, this is Southie. They eventually filled in all this too and made, like neighborhoods in here. This is like Andrew Square, and
but there's no Star Fort there anymore. Like it's torn down, or what is there now?
It looks like that was torn down as part of when they built 95, because you look where Long Wharf is.
It'd be interesting to take some LiDAR to that area to see how much of the foundation is still there buried.
So this
I didn't mean to jump on, but just really quickly, this is the fort map. So clearly it was there, and then
I want to describe how it overlays a little bit so people
can
see. This is the original Boston. This is the North End. This is where I live, the Old North Church here in Boston, Unity Street. This is Paul Revere Park, where there's a statue of Paul Revere.
Whoa.
Paul Revere's house is actually still there, and you can go visit it. It's right here. And the Paul Revere house, it's still there, dude.
Dang, that's awesome.
It's a museum now. They've upkept it and
right. Like all the woods had to be replaced, but it's still the same design and everything with the building.
Oh, look at all the brick around it. The foundation is good.
As a contractor,
brick? That's crazy.
In this area, as a contractor, there's I know there's very strict laws on the reproduct. Like they have to use the original kind of glass, the original kind of board. They can't use the original type of paint. They can't use any new products to redo it. But it's probably had the siding and maybe the windows and stuff at least partially redone over the years.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's still in awesome condition, and it's still got the cobblestone streets in this old area that they're never going to replace it.
Wow. But the fort, they've definitely removed the military quality of but this was the church area. This is the Unity.
So this is like the old Boston area.
Yeah. Okay.
The wharf is right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Be a long wharf. This right here is where 95 was. See, this is where the big dig happened. They literally buried the highway.
Right, the big excavation. So I was looking at pictures of that.
No, Long Wharf in Boston. And Long Wharf in Boston was right here, and that Star Fort was, pretty much right here on that map. If you look at it, this whole area was this waterfront area. This was all built and filled in, much the same, So Seaport Boulevard was where the Tea Party happened. So that might have been Let me just see on the map where that corresponds to, because it just looks
Gosh,
like
you see some kind of like Bavarian eyes just in the architecture as well.
yeah, because this is, I don't think the modern day, because the modern day, there's a modern day fort, but it's much further down. This is the JFK Library where UMass Boston is. And Castle Island is Castle Island's out here. Oh, that might be it, you know?
Yeah. So what is Castle Island? So so you got this hook.
Island is Fort Independence.
Gosh, there
But
we
it's
go.
a Civil War fort. No, this was built in the 1800s. Yeah, I knew that because I visited here.
But it's on top of a pre-existing fort, right? Like, so Fort Independence was talking about. There was already the. Hold on, let me see if I can find this. Fort Independence. But yeah, they've redo these forts. Like you showed earlier to me, several modern contemporary police stations and forts that are on top of the old forts themselves, right?
I think I got pictures of the.
Yeah, see, the first primitive fortification. Let me just pull it up so people can see your site. The first primitive fortification was built in 1634, at least, and then rebuilding 1692, and then 1833, 1851 is when we have the modern version.
Okay, so this is just the north end right here, then. All right, because this is Salem Street. This is what would be modern day Hanover Street, and this would be modern day Lynn Street would be Commercial Street. Ship Street. All this would be Commercial Street that goes all the way around. Modern day, right? I know because I lived here for about a couple of years in the north end. So yeah, Commercial Street that goes around here. There's a modern day naval yard right here. U.S. Navy, U.S. Coast Guard station. And
what's the tower over by Fort Independence? I'll just really quickly, this guy here I'm looking at Fort Independence, like a castle. It's like a Disney castle at Fort Independence. What is that thing?
I don't know what that tower is. I've never seen that. I've been down there, but I've never actually seen that particular.
Is it Roxbury High Fort? Roxbury High Fort, I guess is what it is.
Over here, right here in the shipyard in Charlestown, if you go over the water right here from Boston, the north end.
Yeah.
Check it out. There's the USS Constitution. The oldest U.S. naval vessel still in service.
So they seem to keep a lot of the history going and revived in Massachusetts and Boston. Like,
dude,
so
it's serious because this was a very well built ship.
This is at least like a museum or something, right? Like
it's a floating museum.
You can go in. Cool. Awesome.
Get a sense of what it was actually like to be a naval seaman and independent Revolutionary War times.
Yeah, that's pretty epic. Obviously, I learned some things recently about cannons. Like, you only shoot one cannon at a time. Like, if you shot them all, like the perturbations of sound destroy, or the force, whatever it is, destroys the side of the ship. So they'd have to do one and then do the other in a succession.
It's 2-ply, and it's a 2-ply board construction, and they bolt it together with these rivets. See, they hot riveted it.
Stuff Beagle in the chat right now talking about viaducts in Boston. Look for viaducts. We should totally, you know what? If there's a way, you should get Beagle to talk about this. I wanted to show just for 30 seconds this thing because of Beagle. I had been looking into Boston excavation, and so the thing exactly that Jeremy's showing right now. These are some of the pictures of the process he's talking about with this excavation to remove, and you'll see. You're used to viaducts now because you're used to having these highways that are lifted bridges. But when you start to really dig into how wide these get, like full blocks that are viaduct, I mean, it's just crazy. And so they've dug out like underneath Boston. I mean, I don't know. It's pretty insane.
Wow. It's literally held together. It's literally held together with iron bars and rivets all through.
Man, that's amazing. Yeah, dude. I mean, so these wooden ships, though, that they're built, was the Constitution built in Massachusetts originally, or is it just kept there now?
I know it's kept there. I don't know the actual history of the ship making process of the actual boat. But yeah, it's an interesting museum for anyone who's in the area and wants to go there and learn about it. If you're in Boston, you're coming here. So let's talk about some more of the forts. Yeah, the Castle Island's an interesting star fort. And where is this tower? I've been all over here. There's a playground.
Yeah, the Roxbury Hill Tower, I think is what it was called. And let me see if I can find it. Roxbury High Fort. And it's the Roxbury neighborhood of Boston. So it's just
Island Park, Fort Hill.
Just search in there, you found it. Amazing. Wow. And it's in a fort kind of walled around it.
I know where this is.
So again, these are built on top of older forts. And so the wall that you saw there on the aerial view, it's like that parking lot. Look at, there's like a walkway, a parking lot that used to be the fort.
Tower. Well, there's a signaling tower. There's another one actually on top of Blue Hills.
What kind of tower did you call it?
A signaling tower.
A signaling tower.
So it's kind of like in Lord of the Rings where they, light the tower, or in the Great Wall of China they did this too. Where the one if by sea, two if by land, one if by land, and two if by sea. What was it?
Right.
So there's two lights. It's a different signal. But when you see that light go up, it's like up, and that's what they're looking for all night. So the big one was actually on top of Blue Hills reservation, and you can
of course on the reservation.
It's there's a reservation here now because it's a giant mountain. You can't really build on it, and it's like historic. So, but if you go up the Blue Hill, the Eliot Tower at Blue Hill, there's an old tower here, and it's an outlook tower and also a signaling tower. Because you just put two candles in there, and two candles in there or one in the middle, and boom, So
we were looking at this idea of resonance with bells, similar like the bell towers, and how if you kind of like whales can pitch correct and they can project a resonance for a further distance because it's the same wave, it hits them and then they continue it on like a transceiver, that you can do that with bells as well. So I wonder about some of these towers where they're torch towers. I get that. But also, what are they shining? It could be also bell towers because they've removed so many bells.
Yeah, you'll be able to see these different towers across. But
Super chat from Stefan. Thank you. Bear Den in Old Franklin Zoo near White Stadium. That's Stefan from the previous show about Boston from Brighton. So he might have
Old Franklin Zoo?
Yeah. The Old Franklin Zoo near White Stadium.
All right, we'll look this up. All right.
If you want, I can throw Stefan invite so he could.
I got some good ones if we're gonna go out to Frank. Oh wait, old bear dens. All right, historic landmark. That's a cool one. Franklin Park. Yeah, Franklin Park's an interesting place. Yeah, there's a zoo there, but there's the old bear dens. Interesting.
Bobcat says you fire the guns in sequence to reload while still shooting at the enema.
Enemy. What is this? The Franklin. I want to find out more about the bear dens.
Yeah.
4 photos. So
dang. What? Look at that. That mural of the bears fighting each other.
Well,
I heard crazy stories like in the old days they used to like tie bears together, double noose, like a noose on one side, the other side, like a Chinese finger trap, and make them fight.
This is the old zoo area. They used to probably have bears.
Let me while you do that, I'm gonna
old circus animals that were retired. This one here to die. What is this place?
I'm gonna
interesting stone
do a background dig. Oh yeah, it was a crazy place. Looks like. Here, let me pull up a couple of the old pictures for a second, and then you go back to the new pictures. This is they used to bring elephants through. They had wild looking bears. They were, here's some of these crazy Victorian buildings they had, and it looks like things were essentially here's the bears being brought and hippopotami being brought through the zoo. I mean, it looks like it was incredible as far as I can tell.
Well, no other discussion would be complete without, some discussion of Cambridge area, Harvard Square, of course, or Harvard University. First university was founded by John Harvard, not to be confused with Harvard, Mass, which is out here somewhere near Concord, Maynard. Harvard, Mass is out here. But anyway, Concord, Lexington were the big military bases back in the day.
Oh,
There was actually an artillery, a couple artillery points in a marching order to the city of Boston from all the settlements that were up here in the suburbs of Boston, of the old area. And there's modern day Hanscom Air Force bases right smack in the middle of it. So just solidify how strategic of an area this was militarily over the city of Boston. Somerville, of course, with Davis Square and Porter Square, the two main squares here just up the street on Mass Ave from Harvard University. If you go down Mass Ave, you get to Central Square here, and then Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This is all on the Red Line, MIT, Kendall Square on the Red Line. And
dang, it gets super like that's like a pentagram, and around MIT things get like really jagged and straight, and not just like the.
Oh, it's some wild. If you go down to MIT and you don't have much time, you want to just check it out. Definitely go check out these buildings in this complex right here on Vassar Street.
Vassar Street. Whoa!
Seen these buildings?
Okay.
They all got
Looks like the Sims went crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all like wacky and weird.
Dr. Seuss.
Like, let's see what crazy crap we can build, because
man,
why the fuck not?
Film a movie there. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's a cool place to check out.
What do they do? Do you know if they say what the department nearby it is, or is that how that works, or is it just the architects area or something?
Well,
it's MIT.
It's MIT. I think it was MIT architects. Yeah, their architectural design department, and there's a lot of design competition in this area for cutting edge design. I mean, down here in Rhode Island, we have RISD University, which is a big design college.
Yeah, Stefan was talking about that. He was into that architecture.
Yeah, but this area right here was the Back Bay, and they filled this whole area in. And extended Boston Common. They built the State House on that whole area right here with and the modern day State House, which is interesting with the Golden Dome.
The Golden Dome. Oh, very Greco. I mean, we have this in San Francisco, a Golden Dome. What is it? Is it
very like DC? It reminds me of like when I went to Washington DC. And saw the architecture and buildings down there. It's very much inspired by that era and
the best house. Yeah.
Oh, it's very cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful building. Absolutely stunning. And Boston.
What's that grassy area there that has kind of like a chiro?
Another interesting history is the whole city burnt down in a fire.
The fire of Boston.
There's been a whole bunch of famous fires. In fact, like a lot of firefighting, like history and technologies were developed in Boston, and also just this fire science of just not building a lot of real wooden structures with storage units and stuff right next to each other. Like,
oh my God, the fire Boston paintings and photo, like so the complete wreckage of it just totally looks like atomic blast, the melted brick. I mean, how do bricks go like that? That's crazy.
Yeah, the Great Fire of Boston. There was also a nightclub fire that happened down on the waterfront area. Place that had a whole bunch of paper decorations hanging up all over the place, and that was when they allowed smoking in buildings, and there was a lot of smoking. But somehow, like, one of the papers caught on fire, and it was just tissue paper, like fluffy.
Oh, that's nuts, right? Well, I mean, that's the thing. Do you think that that's true, or do you think that they like destroyed Boston and they're like, oh, you know why it happened? Because you're negligent. You know what I mean? Like trying to make
that was a different fire. The Great Boston Fire, I think, was started in the Macy building, I think, downtown. If I'm not mistaken, because like in downtown Boston, I remember going to near downtown Crossing. There's a site of the.
That's a lot of horrible
Look at that
destruction.
damage.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's just hard to believe it was like an Irish Catholic's toilet paper roll that started. You know what I mean? It's always this little story that they give us, and I'm like looking at this, and I'm like, this looks like worse than the Civil War, you know, or on par with what we're told, like launching cannonballs would do.
Well,
to
there's some. When was the year of that? The Great Fire of Boston.
1872. Or you can, yeah.
I mean,
I'll go to the page if you want. I just had it open.
Like major wars. Do we have any crazy enemies going on at that time? It just doesn't make sense. But Powder Hill,
you know, in America, was always fighting each other. So
another interesting thing. So on the Tufts University is not far from Davis Square, and Tufts University, great school. There's an elephant. The elephant that Dumbo is based on. Is his tail is at this they're at a museum here still. They say that they had his whole body preserved here for a while, and there was another fire which burnt the building down, and all they could save was the elephant's tail, and so that's in a museum now there as well. Well, speaking of fires, the
elephant's tail of Boston. Here's the map of Boston from bird's eye view of Boston from
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty great. You got that Star Fort vibe just in general. The layout.
That it was burnt down for those purposes. So
and you said, is this the reserve
cartography map?
That was all marshes. That was the fens. See, all that was the fens out there, and they filled all of that in with the Back Bay project.
Gotcha. The Back Bay project.
Yeah.
See, I mean, it just feels interesting because the viaduct thing, I mean, it's not bad. It's good. It's just interesting because you've got all these undergrounds, you got all these DUMBs, you got these military complexes and things like that, tunnel systems or everything else. But you also have marshes, which is kind of an etch-a-sketch. It's really hard to build a tunnel through mud, you know. You can do it. You need to have you build your own solid glass or plastic or concrete, you know, tunnel. And
yeah,
you have to
great restaurants here and they have great there's underground tunnels around here too. There's a whole underground stuff under here. It's closed off, but Powder House Park here near Tufts University.
Is it called Powder House because it was the armory and they were making gunpowder?
This is the old original armory that was used during the Revolutionary War of Independence in 1776 here in Boston, and that was where all the powder was stored. I mean, some of the powder was an arsenal and a powder house. You know, for the military on this road. It was a military station along the path to Lexington. You know, so yeah, lots of interesting history around here. Davis Square. Go to Red Bones or some of the restaurants.
Red Bones.
There's some great. There's some great Southern Texas barbecue place over here. There's some great other restaurants in this area. It's really a good spot to visit if you're in the area for a while or interested. You moved here and you're looking for local events and stuff. So let me see what else. So yeah, Blue Hills is a great hiking area with that tower, as I mentioned. If you go out here, there's some other forts and batteries I know of that I've gone into out here on the it's a peninsula called Hull, Massachusetts, Nantasket. This is a giant beach. It's full of arcades and bars and fun stuff in the summer. There used to be a giant Paragon Park here. Old
Paragon Park.
It was called Paragon Park. It was like they had roller coasters and like carousels and
and like older stuff. It looks like. Hold on, check out this like old picture of Paragon Park. It had like non-electric, that kind of swing thing that was non-electric in the old days. And
yep. There's a bunch of kind of parks like that. There was another one on Revere Beach called Wonderland. It's where Wonderland stop is in Revere. If you go up
Wonderland Station now, right? It's a transit station now with underground metro.
Yeah, can you find it on here? It's Revere Beach. It's
all I see is all these underground aqueducts and viaducts. Oy vey, that's a lot.
Yeah, Revere Beach is up here, and there was a big on the end here was a big place called Wonderland. It was another big park that used to be there. Another big park that used to be in this area is, of course, Rocky Point down in Rhode Island, which is now just a barren land. But Rocky Point, pull up some pictures of Rocky Point Park. This has some interesting history. There used to be a giant community swimming pool that,
Hold on, let me go back a second to Wonderland Park. This is what Wonderland Park used to look like, just for reference of like how based Boston.
Some old world,
dude. Look how based Boston is. This is like, so look how big these buildings are. Look how small these people are. Look how giant.
Designed.
Look at these roller coasters. The roller coaster is bigger than some of your highways today, and you're telling and this is before the viaducts. All of these, this is crazy. 10 cities. I mean, come on, that's pretty based.
Like canals and fountains and everything in there too. Giant water slide looks like that.
Yeah,
that's quite the Wonderland. What's that? Is that a flying shadow or is that just a smudge in the top left corner?
Oh, there's supposed to be a fire at least in the top. The smudge. Oh yeah. I don't know. That does look like a space. That's a blimp.
That looks like a UFO or two.
That's a Zeppelin, dude, right there. Okay,
all
so
right,
Zeppelin.
Speaking of Zeppelins, if you want to, and military forts and all this, right? There's another naval station right down here called in Weymouth, which is the NAS South Weymouth Administration Building. This field used to be a blimp station, one of the old blimp fleet stations. So that's what this whole there was two
blimp fleet station.
So giant, like there was landing points for they were planning a giant Zeppelin fleet back in the 1920s with the U.S. Navy. They had expected before World War II that blimp technology was going to be like the future of the warfare until they realized how extremely flammable and easy they were to blow up. With the
I mean, they're all about them now. They've got.
The helium ones were not that dangerous, and they just kind of were like, "Oh, we filled one with hydrogen, it blew up. Screw it."
I mean, you know about the Lockheed blimps, though. Like the Lockheed blimps are all the rage. So I'm pretty sure that what it is,
like it's like one of the biggest drone things that are.
I'm pretty sure
drone blimps.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of classified crafts that are actually semi-blimp. Like, so they're not full blimp. They still have to be lifted constantly, but they reduce the weight with blimp to like 90% less weight, and so that they're used in general. Lockheed loves to make heavy stuff fly. Who wouldn't?
See, I'm looking forward to like what Jeremiah was doing with the star in the jar that I was showing him. If we can develop that and actually transmutate hydrogen from water into helium, then we might actually be able to make our own safe blimps one day.
Dude, Bob Lazar just tossed his hair. I heard it,
So yeah, there's a number of air stations. There's Naval Field there, Hanscom Air Force Base. There's also Camp Edwards and Otis Air Force Base down here in the Cape. Cape Cod's got some interesting history too, which I wanted to talk about, and it relates to the history of the city of Boston. So, and the topic of tonight's broadcast, which I want to bring it back to for anyone who just joined.
Oh, thank you, Brittany. I appreciate that point. Anybody who super chats, at least to me, I will be putting that towards a GPU that can make AI videos like you've never seen before. So thank you. I appreciate that you're pointing that out.
So, speaking of banned in Boston, there was a policy back in the original city of Boston where they would ship out all the vagabonds, unwanted peoples, basically, and they would send them to what was essentially a penal colony here on the peninsula of Provincetown.
Wait, really? This is like a horrifying Hook Beach, you know what I mean? And so like this Castaway to Tasmania kind of thing. What are these horrible crimes that these people did with the murderers and stuff?
We have pirates, also homosexuals and lesbians.
Wait, really?
Yep.
Oh yeah, because of course you would just hang people.
LGBTQT gets free airship travel.
That makes sense because they hang the people in front of people that they want to hang. But like, if you're just kind of like they want you out of their puritanical society,
they can't just hang those people because it was very.
Oh man! So they made like a gay beach.
Everyone's got a gay cousin or someone in their family who's gay, and it's like
Send them to the penal colony. All right.
So why don't we just have a place for these people if we just can't have them in society? Apparently, that was the policy back in the old city of Boston, and they
We're
sent
not
them
saying
to,
we agree with this at all, by the way.
So wait, but what happened to what's it like today? I mean, is it kind of
well, Provincetown is like on the, if you're a gay geography and you're going to go visit, if you're gay and you're looking for the place to go in Massachusetts,
really?
Provincetown is the spot.
So it's
trains walking up and down the strip.
It's riding the gay hog. So the West Hollywood, it's the East Provincetown.
There's sex shops left and right. There's gay bars. There's
freedom. What you're telling me, freedom. There's freedom in Provincetown. Okay, all right. Okay.
It's freedom in Provincetown. There's a lot of pride.
All right.
It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful place to go because there's beaches too. Just don't be surprised if you're walking in the dunes and stumble across two lovers.
Gotcha. Oh my. Okay. I'm just seeing some pictures now. I'm kind of getting so it's like a festival. Like it looks like anime, like all the time. Oh my. Okay.
Well, yeah,
cool.
Moving along.
No, it looks cool. I kind of want to visit. But what's with the obelisk? There's all these weird obelisks. Is this another watchtower?
Very phallic. Indeed.
Is it a signaling tower as well, though?
Yeah, I think so. It might. You'd probably be able to see that from the city of Boston. I would believe. I don't know the history.
Signaling towers.
It's
interesting.
It's far from the downtown area where all the shops are and all that waterfront area.
North Sacramento used to be called the American River used to be called Boston in the 1850s. That tracks. It kind of vibes the same way. And Carmichael into that north, you know what I'm saying?
If you go down to Wellfleet, out here, you'll find a place called Marconi Beach. And do you know the history of Marconi Beach? Do you know who Marconi was famous for?
Is this a radio guy?
Yeah.
Really? He's in Boston? I thought he was like in Argentina. No, what's he doing in Boston? That's awesome.
So here's the original wireless station that was set up so that they could send transatlantic signals. And this was the original wireless array that he had built out on Marconi Beach with his little powered radar station. And they built all these giant, Marconi towers. This was them standing inside the structures. This was them, from far away, just, I guess, I don't know how far, but those must have been pretty tall towers.
Dang. Yeah, Marconi was from Italy. Marconi did end up in Argentina. The Argentinians
blew down the first hurricane because look at this. There's no triangle. Like modern day towers have like tethers. 3 tethers. I don't see that in this picture unless it just doesn't pick up in this old photograph. But they have to have tethers on this to hold it down. And anchored into the ground on either side. Otherwise, it's just going to blow over in the first storm. But yeah, the first transatlantic communications were sent from Marconi Beach. You know what else happened right over here off Nauset Beach, a little bit to the south, right, is JFK Jr. and his buddy Barry, I forget the guy's last name, Goldman. He found a pirate ship. Based on some old pirate records. So not only does Cape Cod look like a pirate's hook, but it's also has a lot of pirate history, including a pirate ship called the Whydah. And the Whydah galley was hijacked. It was a British ship, and it was named after this African slave port of Whydah, and it was just like a different spelling of the African slave port. But yeah, apparently, this was a slave ship that these pirates went and hijacked in the golden age of piracy, 1717. On April 26th, the Wyandotte Galley was caught in a violent storm and wrecked off the coast of Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Why did Galley do that? Like, yeah, that's a good name.
Galley do that? Well, two of the crew survived, along with 7 others who were on a sloop captured by Bellamy earlier that day. So they had abandoned ship into another. They had another ship. They had a sloop is a smaller ship.
But this is 1717, so it's kind of like the first generation of living there, maybe for these kinds of pirates. Or interesting.
Yeah. So this galley wrecked off the coast, and it was buried in the sand because there's all this shifting sands out there on Cape Cod. It's like very stormy out here in general. There's the weather, a lot of rain, a lot of storms in Massachusetts, and it can change very quickly. And a lot of that's governed by the weather coming from the north, which is all mitigated by the mountains up here, specifically Mount Washington, which is a weather phenomenon in itself. If you go up to New Hampshire, Mount Washington is definitely, if you're interested in science and landmarks, the highest wind speed ever recorded on planet Earth was recorded right here.
What? Really?
On the surface of the planet Earth, the highest wind speed ever recorded was recorded here.
How? Like, what is? I mean, what? So, I mean,
the winds can get like crazy up here. There's a remarkable number of people who died up here in summer months. It's because what happens is that wind patterns is like the wind goes over the top of this mountain and create these low pressure zones. And with when you have pressure drops, dramatic pressure drops like that, what happens to the temperature inside an ideal gas is you can be out there hiking in shorts and a t-shirt in 90-degree weather in the summertime, hot as hell, and all of a sudden it drops to -30.
Dang.
And
you're carried off.
You have no protective gear. And that's how all these people die, exposure. And it's
Mount Washington sounds terrifying. And there's a lot of ice up there, yeah, so that's crazy.
It's a lot in the Lion's Head area because it's like the area, it's this rock facade that's right behind the top peak with the north winds coming right over the top of it. So as these cold north winds come flying down, it pushes all this cold air and then creates this giant pocket of negative pressure area right in this whole area. And
big Gucci bombastic. I've been there a bunch of times. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're alive because it sounds like Mount Washington.
It kills a number of people a year, so you have to be aware of that if you hike there, or even if you visit the summit and you want to take a walk down that beautiful Lion's Head rock wall on the side of the mountain right down here. It's like that's this whole area. Tuckerman's Ravine is the steepest part. It's got some crazy skiing. There's no lifts there. You have to climb up with your skis or sled and then go down. But a number of crazy it's been in the X Games and it's one of those spots where it's like they've hosted competitions there.
You can go skiing in Boston or in Massachusetts.
A lot of skiing in New Hampshire. There's a small ski resort in Blue Hills actually.
I had no idea. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I thought that was like a Midwest.
In the wintertime, there's a Blue Hill ski area right here on the side of Blue Hills where it's just got a couple kiddie lifts and some little tiny easy intermediate level trails. Nothing like
right. It's not Colorado or something.
Well, there's good skiing here, dude. There's good skiing here. If you go to Mount Snow or Killington, or Okemo Mountain, there's a number of really good places up in New Hampshire and Vermont for skiing. There's a number of really good places actually. Look up Killington, dude. Killington's like the cream of the crop.
Wow, that sounds rad. I love skiing. I've only California. I got to visit Colorado, but this is
got some money and you want to go on a friggin' ski
nice.
Trip.
Yeah, a nice one. Okay.
You want to go on your skiing trips, from remember from you take your kid on your ski trips.
Yeah.
Goodwill Hunting in the bar scene, the Harvard bar scene, where he's talking about the rich guy who is
He's talking about Killington. He must be.
Yeah, he's talking about Killington. He is totally. But yeah, there's some. It's good. It's
Yeah,
good.
it's beautiful.
It's skiing, dude. It's not the Rockies. It's not the Alps.
But yeah, you
But,
have a good day.
you have a good day, dude.
Man, the colors though, like the thing is, the fall colors in Vermont are just out of control. Go up a couple pictures. There was the red and green leaf place, but yeah,
all of it. Yeah, it's out. It's like that still in some places right now here in Massachusetts. It's all gone up there now. They get a couple weeks ahead of us. So
yeah, it's nuts.
you can go up there and like right in the early season, you can go up there and get some of the fall foliage, and before it hits down here, so you can get you can kind of get more of it extended. Hi. Icicles. Look at this. This is great.
We have a Mount Herman on our west and east coast, like Golan Heights. That's true. The Herman thing is interesting. 33 and 33 with and then the Mount Herman, Mount Sinai. There's a lot of stuff about Mount Herman.
So it's Halloween just passed. So the Halloween capital of the world is actually right here in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I mean, I just was looking at how crazy the Tortubia, like the woman who was a kind of a slave, maybe, and she had introduced these kids to kind of Caribbean style magic, and it started off this whole chain reaction of social hysteria.
So they filmed Hocus Pocus here, the Hocus Pocus 2 film.
Of course.
And it was based on Salem, and it had this old Salem town that they said was Old Salem that was whatever. But they actually built that right down the street here over in Cumberland on a place called, what the heck called? I could find it on the map. They built it on a farm right down here in Cumberland, Rhode Island, though. That's where they had the whole set, and they were filming it right down here. But anyways, just another side.
It's not enough for them to do a witch movie. They got to actually build an entire witch town. You know what I mean? Like,
so they recovered the pirate ship, and there's a museum down here in Yarmouth. If you ever get the chance to, so look up the Pirate Museum. You want to see some real pirate treasure and excavation of an old pirate ship.
Indeed, I do.
Real
matey.
Here it is. Here's the.
Dude, what's a pirate's favorite vegetable? Arugula.
That's
my favorite.
Jeez. What's a pirate's
Come on, you have kids.
What's a pirate's favorite beer? PBR.
I was gonna say anything on draft from
What's
the
a
bar.
pirate's favorite letter of the alphabet?
Arr.
Oh, you think it'd be the R, but it is the C.
Hardy har har. That's pretty good. That was good. See, guys, write these down. Tell a 10-year-old in your life, it'll make their day.
So there's some real pirate treasure, some silver Spanish bullion, and some cannons that probably killed people or in real pirate robberies, and guns and the bell, the original bell. That's how they were able to identify the ship and know that they had indeed found the Wida, that bell. That's like the
kind of like, wait, so that looks like way ancient though. Go look at that top bell thing again.
So this is one of the things that they used to have this, and the pirates used to be hung on these right out here in Rhode Island, in Newport, Rhode Island. So when the
we gotta look up. We're gonna have to go back though after you show this. Then go back and show more artifacts. That's crazy. But yeah, okay.
Newport was the biggest port. It was like the biggest. It was the biggest hub. So, but on the East Coast, it was Boston and Newport. Newport was on all the pirate maps. It was on all the nautical maps. It was a major stop if you were a ship. Because it was just a great. It was one of the original places. But Goat Island right out here, this is where they had those torture devices where they would take the pirates and they'd have them, if you found a pirate, they would put your body right out here, just any ship coming in the harbor would have to go right by it. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay, good sign for the other pirates to behave themselves. But yeah. Luring in sharks too. I mean, it just seems like
so tourism. No, it's not the Widow. The Wida is named after a slave park called Wida.
Oh, what? What's the Wida?
Yeah, the Wida is the slave port, is what it's named after. Is this
Oh man, it's interesting. Oui, like French.
the town, and you know, they used to bring slaves from there to Jamaica. You know, this Pirates of the Caribbean, man. This is it.
Yeah,
This
people don't get.
rum and guns, and you know,
It was a better time. Yeah, I hear you.
it was a different time. Man. I don't know.
Little guns and rum is,
What if you're just some rich people trying to travel and you got like this nice charter and you're going out, you know, you think
it's not guns and rum right now, but every couple of years I go through a phase.
Hey, these guys were bad, man. Some of these guys. But this was Samuel Bellamy. Black Sam was the pirate, and yeah.
That thing again, though. So what's that thing? The bell thing. The go down.
Oh, the galley. They had the
that thing there. The archaeological. This guy. What is this? The bell. Yeah, the bell.
So this is a large cast bell that they had found. You know, I think it's maybe cast iron or copper. I'm not sure, bronze maybe. But this was the original bell. It's got this concretion. They had to remove it to like actually see the bell. But this was all covered in this kind of stuff. This is what happens to solid masses that they kind of like in the sea.
I'm looking at some pictures of it, and it even says the Wida Bell. It's got the Wida Bell written on it.
Wow. You know, what's interesting is the recipe for Vesuvian concrete. According to Vesuvius's recipe for Roman concrete, the key ingredient is seawater. Mixing.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's actually something I wanted to get into or with you, Jeremy, is this geopolymer technology and what seems to be this nanotechnology of geopolymers of the ancients.
Yeah, they discovered this. You know, they obviously like went to shipwrecks or sites and found, you know, historians and archaeologists in ancient times went to these places and dug up friggin' swords and are like, why is it crusted and all this stuff? Like, how did this happen?
Right. And so one researcher we do some work with, Paul Cook, he's over in the UK and really digging into this geopolymer stuff, starting to make some of his own, and like discovering that a lot of the ancient megaliths are in fact geopolymer, where it was looks like it's poured high concrete style mix, but the geopolymer where it's a chemical reaction that creates the stronger bonding agent within it. But now the question is, how do we start testing the compositions of these different builds around the world, especially in these star forts where some of them seem to be a lot older and buried lost history, and that the newer ones just seem to be like a less advanced rebuild of some of them.
Definitely don't want the concrete to last too long. Yeah.
Fort Adams is kind of like a star fort. It looks like.
Gosh, yeah. Again, with the whole like it's on a weird shaped area, but it's like a perfect geometrical shape, and yeah, it's got the perfect. I mean, I'm sure 13th Monkey, get in here. I know you're asleep because you're in the Netherlands. But.
Gardner's Island out here in the bay of Long Island is where Captain Kidd buried his treasure over here in Captain Kidd Hollow.
Brett just says blood, which I feel like was an essential missed opportunity to talk about during geopolymers. But yes, wait, go back to Cook. You're moving so fast. I didn't even get to the
pirate aspect of it.
So Captain Cook actually came in, you know, from up north somewhere. I think he was up in Maine and came down. They tracked him,
coasting down, yeah.
And he came down. He stopped at his buddy's house right over here. In Jamestown, there's an old that's where the old legend is.
Dude, imagine if like the British monarchy had Google Maps in the 1600s. This is how they would have tracked him. They would have been so stoked.
That would have been great with the
who knows.
See the map systems they have for not. I was looking at some of the so one of the companies that does this, if you guys want to know, I actually have some intelligence on this because I went to the trade show. So let's find these guys because I did it in my coverage of this. If I can find them, I'll know exactly who they are. But they do that. I think it's Quintham. I think it's these guys.
Sir Popper's Penguins. Did you see Day of the Penguins? I just saw this movie, Day of the Penguins, where like a British dude goes and rescues and fights penguins. Oh, Kintum. What's this? Kintum?
Go look that up.
All right. You're on. Common law, a writ of quintum is a writ through which private individuals who assist a prosecution can receive for themselves all or part of the damages or financial penalties recovered by the government as a result of prosecution. Yes, this is the thing with the witch trial.
No, this is
a lot of the witch trials though we're doing this. Oh, okay. I thought it was the term. The term that I just read though is, if you spell that,
so these guys do all kinds of mapping, and right now they actually do mapping for the wind farms and stuff. So you can actually go out to these areas and see where all the right here is like the Block Island wind farm out in this area.
Is their name not a play on the idea of taking the property of the accused if you're a witness to a crime? Because that's hilarious. Because then they're saying that they're taking the free energy. It's not that it's just free energy. It's stolen energy.
Word, why they chose Quintum.
We stole it. We stole the wind energy. Yeah, okay.
Is that the idea behind it?
It's probably got to be like a native tribe, but I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine that they did it on purpose. But maybe somebody. You know what?
They're not. They're not from here, dude. The number here is it looks like there's a lot of Danish companies there, and a lot because the big wind farms are actually over in this area. Like this is. Do you think these wind farms are big, dude? Look at these wind farms.
Jeez.
The wind farms over here off of Denmark, and these are all wind farms. Everything off of Denmark is and everything off.
That's right.
Covered in wind farms between here. And
I remember going on a Danish train and out the window, going across the water, seeing all that. Yeah. At
that wind conference I went to were German and Denmark companies. But yeah, there's some wind farm and wind energy stuff going on here in Boston and off the coast. Well, not in Boston. They didn't want it in this area, so they're trying to put it all offshore here. But anyways, back to the Boston and band in Boston and some of the local history. So we're talking about ships and naval history and Newport and everything. There's an interesting place called right here called so we have Rocky Point. You go up a little ways right here. This is called Gaspee Point. Now Gaspee Point is there's Providence water fires that happen every summer in June, July. I think it starts. But the history of it is that there was another ship here has never been found, the Gaspee, but that was a British military ship. What happened is it was chasing a smaller ship called the Hannah, which was a sloop. As I mentioned, a sloop's a much smaller ship. So the sloop, they chased this sloop called the Hannah up through the channels, and they were smugglers. They weren't really pirates. They were just had some goods on board.
They were just doing their job.
They're just doing their job. They're avoiding these taxes and these goddamn, stamps and the tea tax and all that bull crap.
That's right. It was pretty wild. The tea tax, the tobacco tax, the house tax, the broom tax. Man, a lot of tax.
So this sloop, the Hannah, ran them through these shallows over here on what's called present-day Gaspee Point, and I'm thinking it's down here in these shallows here. This is where I would look, and I want to get a team to we can get an investment to go build. I'll build a metal detector that we can just drag and trawl this whole area until we find it. There's got to be cannons here, the same way that they found that other ship, is they just trawled it with these deep penetrating metal detectors until they found a hit, and they were like, the cannons got there. And then when they got the hit, they just sat there, and they actually, what they did is they took these boats and they pointed the engines, these high powered engines, downward, and they just blasted the water downwards until it blew all the sand out of the area, and they were able to use water to blow all the sand out of the area until they got down to where they could actually salvage the wreck.
Yeah, I've seen some of that on some either the Discovery Channel or History Channel, showing some of that throughout the Caribbean where they were doing the same style.
But the history of this and why we have water fires in Providence is to celebrate the Revolutionary War, where we grounded this British ship on the shallows out here at Gaspee Point, and when they were waiting, they were waiting for high tide to get there in the morning. The Hannah continued on up into the city of Providence, where it landed in port, and needed to tell all the people that, that, hey man, we got a ship down there. These bastards are helpless out there. If we, and we got a posse up. Went down there with a posse of people, and they raided the ship out here at Gaspee Point, burnt it to the water line, and killed, and just, it was like one of the starting battles of the Revolutionary War, where all the citizens just rose up and they stormed the ship, and they said, finally, no, we had enough, and they burned the thing to the water line. But it's out there somewhere, and they still haven't found this, obviously everything that survived the fire. Yeah, there'd be cannons out there. I don't know, maybe any metals anything that didn't burn in the fire and would.
Have you guys been looking at what's going on with LiDAR companies right now? I know a bunch of people are talking about LiDAR, and it's awesome stuff. But one of the things I just looked at was Argo AI was shutting down, and a bunch of companies are being bought out and they're being destroyed. So that AI LiDAR isn't in the hands of the general public, even though there was a bunch of really great open source LiDAR projects. Literally everything was, originally, to get to the point that we are.
Right. So apparently you can get your own LiDAR unit. They start at about $11,000 and go up to about $15,000 to attach to a drone. And that's the ability to get your
They have
own.
More expensive ones. You can get even
that's just like the very
graduation of
in model, of course.
The graduation of expenses includes both how powerful the radiation is, because they actually have a kind of microwave LiDAR. It's not really light though. It's just a kind of a high spectrum radiation that's shot. You need the FCC's permission to use that. And it can only go a certain distance before you need a special license. But you can actually get LiDAR that submarine volcano mining companies and general BLM, Bureau of Land Management, use to look like 1,000 feet deep. You can go 100 feet to 1,000 feet deep.
Oh, wow. Well, if we can get someone who has one of these, find a company, there's got to, I mean,
those are like $200,000.
There's got to be companies that have this in this area. It's just finding them.
Absolutely.
This is where all
weren't you mentioning there was a Canadian LiDAR company that was doing some of the buried star forts and batteries that recently discovered?
I think it's just the LiDAR in St. Anne. Let me see.
These guys would have it. So look at these guys. Brennan, land surveyor. They have LiDAR. These guys got it. Burlington, Massachusetts. I'll call them up I can call them up tomorrow morning. This is a civil engineering company. They probably have access to LiDAR equipment too.
What's his name?
Analog Photonics.
Dr. Jonathan Fowler in Canada, who he did on LiDAR magazine. They're showing this article a couple years ago, and I was talking to him. I want to do an interview. He's in the process of finishing a book. We're going to do a talk soon, talking about the discovery of several interesting lost forts, including Fort Edward and Fort Anne. And you can see with LiDAR, the kinds of images that they're able to get using all this open source LiDAR technology. They're using special kinds of cameras, but using multiple different kinds of lenses, and you're using a radar system in order to get the best kind of map possible. So Dr. Jonathan Fowler, I think, is the name of the guy.
Oh, so there's another star fort and up there.
Yeah. In Canada. Well, they're all over the world, man. The star forts are the thing. I mean, it's the unsung hero of military.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. New Bedford was also a big. New Bedford currently is just kind of like a slum, and the whaling museum is the only interesting thing to go to there, because it has the whole history of the whaling industry. Because before they really discovered petroleum out in Pittsfield, it was Pittsfield, Ohio or something, where they first discovered oil. They hit oil. It was
any of these whaling museums taken out of context, you just got these giant dinosaur skeletons and humans next to them like they were fighting dragons. It's amazing.
No, that's what these guys did. They went out for months at a time and hunted whales, and
beasts of the sea were wild.
And these are the harpoons, and these were canes made of ivory. Yeah, they're confiscated from sale during the crackdown on it a long time ago. But yeah, they stopped making whale ivory, and but whale was a big, it was a big
Huge
trade.
industry.
It was a huge industry, man. They would get whale, they would harvest these things and just use it for the whale blubber. That this is like this.
A lot of the kids, so like Paul Sweet, I used to live in the house of Paul Sweet in like the Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz on Paul Sweet Road. This guy, Paul Sweet, got to Santa Cruz by being a whaler from Cape Cod in Massachusetts, went his way all the way around, eventually just got off the boat. And so, this is a story you hear a lot all over the world. People from Massachusetts that ended up leaving on boats because they were whalers. And then some of them decided to like colonize and live, or just, live with a family somewhere else at some point. So it's a major world cultural spreader through sea.
Yeah, and they often sailors brought artifacts from really far away voyages and stuff too. So there's a lot of that in these museums around the area. If you're ever in the area, I know. But yeah, that's a cool place down there. Also, Fall River has a Battleship Cove where you can go like tour the battleships and see like the whole history of Battleship Cove right down here, man.
Like Clap. Oh yeah, modern ships.
Battleship and like go check out so you can go down the submarine and they got a battleship there, and then they have the Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. is there.
Man, that's such a crazy time because that's when they're in radio communication all the time, so they're full oriented. I mean, that's just wow. That is so wild.
That propeller the size of like the one from the Titanic or something. I mean, it was one of these naval ships. But yeah, it's an interesting museum. Lots of cool stuff to go look at down there. And, it's rusting to hell, but it's
magnificent stuff, though. I mean, incredible. And the kind of technology that they could make this possible with, it's like,
it's old. This is it.
So earlier, Stefan was talking about the calculator. Which one was it? The Risk one, the Sinclair calculator, Sinclair Executive, and the power in that calculator today, or I mean, it was in the 80s still, or 72, but it was like 12 kilobits. So that's pretty much the power that a lot of these giant machines could have, or even less, 120 sometimes, just to have any kind of computing for their mechanical driven sonar and radar systems in World War II, which are these huge array computers that they built just to do that. I mean, but very impressive stuff.
Yeah. Well, and after that was the Cold War, where they built all these missile sites, and believe it, there's a few of them out here.
That's terrifying, like nukes and stuff. So there's nukes.
You won't find them on Google Earth, man. Like I've driven by these places out on some of these back roads and these farm fields and stuff, and you'll never see the thing on Google Earth, but you drive by it, it's like that's a friggin' ICBM site, dude. Like in places out here, especially there's whole sections of Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket which are closed off in these private estates, and I guarantee you they have a couple out there as well as some of Cape Cod and stuff. So they're
yes, of course, though, because the Cold War, you'd have to have all these random launch sites, so you'd have to build them like underground or like build a building around it, but probably underground so that you could open up, and that is crazy. So it's just in your neighborhood, though. Basically, it's like that close to everybody.
Well, I grew up in Mansfield, and right out here in Plainville, there's an old place, Thermo Fisher Scientific right here. They do a ton of research. They're a big industry out here. You'll find them connected to tons of interesting research and stuff. But right up here in Plainville, there was an old place that was part of the Manhattan Project, and it's like a control site now. They have it. They have it closed off. Let's see, where is this? So this is Route 1. You go across to here. 152. If you go up 152, this whole area right here, see this? It's all closed down. This is piles of nuclear waste where they literally had a refinery here. This was a small place for processing uranium for the
Where did the uranium come from? Is this like the Nazi stolen uranium?
It's right here, man. They were mining it. They were mining.
Mine uranium in Massachusetts. There's uranium in Massachusetts. You just mine it
I
there.
think it came from mines up in New Hampshire
What?
or Canada on the East Coast. Or brought here because most of the uranium mines are out in like Utah and near the Grand Canyon. I know.
I had no idea about East Coast uranium. Oh my god! It looks so...
The big processing site for it all was, of course, in Hanford, Washington, the Hanford site. But then there was also the one in Oak Ridge,
Canada. Though MacArthur River, Canada, is the
Oak Ridge, Tennessee,
biggest in the world right now. That's crazy. And so they bring it down the East Coast. I didn't even know. I didn't mean to talk about the desert. We talk about, it just makes sense because it's the desert. Like, of course, you'd want to have things out in the middle of nowhere. But this is just right in white picket fence. People love this area of the world. They don't want it destroyed. And then dangerous research.
This is a weird place geologically. Right here, there's all these veins of different altering geology from the Earth's crust, that occur in this section. So it was a key spot, I think, for the uranium mining. There might have been some uranium mining done here. I know there's a giant coal mine in one of these places. It's been burning underground since the 60s or something. You ever heard of that town that's been on fire since the 60s?
Yeah, I've heard of this. What is this? This is crazy. So you can't ever go back there, and there's just smoke coming out of the freaking concrete. And it's just because they had a chemical fire in a mine. They got to a point. Oh, that's nuts. So apparently there's a few of these in
Pennsylvania. Centralia, Pennsylvania, the mining town. All right.
So the Soviet Union had a couple of these too. Centralia is such a weird name too. And then look at some pictures of Centralia. Yeah.
If you look up anything from the old colliery industry, you'll find they had a strict no smoking policy for not want this to happen again,
Oh man, hold on. Let me show you really quickly just some pictures of Centralia so people get the idea. This is what it looks like. It's just the smoke is coming out of the burning ground, and yet it's apparently, nature can handle that. So there's a bunch of nature that live there and people go hang out. But the whole place just burned itself down, because there was no way that it could handle it. But it was a beautiful place. And now it looks like a volcano all the time. All the time. Just completely on fire. It's brutal.
Yeah. Crazy. The fire swamps.
God. Chemical fires underground are serious, and people don't think about what's underground. And you look at these Islamic Arab. I'm trying to get this book translated. I'm working on getting this book translated from this medieval Arabic Islam alchemy, and it's all a Persian alchemy. It's all about how to use the volcanoes and caves to make volcanoes to make gold and energy and stuff like that. So
really, I'm gonna have to take a look at that. There's so much fascinating lost ancient alchemy technology.
And it's only really this is probably only a 400 to 500-year-old copy of the thing. So who knows? It probably is based on older stuff, but it's from Spain in the Arabic Andalusia period. So but the idea still we're talking about mining and geology, and everyone's talking about how crazy it is. But the mining companies aren't. The mining companies are making all this money off of knowing how to use this stuff to make natural reactions. We had
absolutely actually from my own electrolysis, monoatomic gold and nano gold and all of that processes. Some of my subscribers were actually wow, you've blown my mind. I've worked in the gold mining industry my whole life, and you just connected a few missing pieces in the process that we didn't that I've been pondering on forever. And it's so
one time I bought this monoatomic selenium shale mixture. It was a mixture to drink you add to your water. It added all kinds of vital minerals and everything else like that, and gold and silver. And I was like, where's this come from? And it comes from some mining company that figured out. They're like, oh yeah, we could easily get involved with this. Utah has one that does this as well. So the thing is that you had Charles on. I love Charles because he talks about, I was like, why is this the way it is? You know what I mean? Look at this, and it does this crazy thing. There's this repeatable scientific reaction that you can, why? And he's like, well, how is this? Why? get like 100 PhD students to figure that out. I'm too busy making it happen. So I don't think it's that scientists are necessarily like conspiring to hide the why. I think it's that you might just be able to ignore the philosophy and study the experiment and repeat the experiment without all that stuff a lot easier.
All right, so this is cool. You ever looked up the Superfund sites? And there's a ton of them in Massachusetts.
What are super funds? What are they, like think tanks? What's this?
Superfund is an environmental protection agency created a list of polluted locations requiring long-term response to clean up hazard material contaminants.
Super fund. That's like a weird name for that.
Yeah,
that sounds more like a nuclear dump.
Yeah. Well, the idea is that it's called a Superfund because the amount of money required to clean some of this shit up.
Fair. That would be expensive.
Yeah. Anyways, interesting stuff you find in here. The Air Force Base and Army bases have polluted a lot of these areas, and Natick Laboratory, Army Research Development and Engineering Center. This contamination. Naphthalene, Freon 113, and a variety of heavy metals such as barium, mercury, arsenic, copper, chromium, lead, and zinc.
Ooh,
so this is where they're depositing all the stuff. If you were to build a volcano, those nuclear, like this, you'd probably put this stuff together in a single place.
Yeah, it's just there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them right around here. This is a glue company. This one in Mansfield is a glue. It was a big company that made like horse glue and other types of glue, and it burnt down. And
see, is it just Alchemist? Is it just a nuclear dump where environmentally screwed up by decades and blah blah blah? Or is it more likely that it's all planned to get this stuff and then you put it into a specific place, so it's for a reason in a place, because it might eventually cause some sort of a chemical, like the way we looked at just now at Centralia, Pennsylvania. It's like a matchstick waiting for gasoline. It's like gasoline waiting for a match. Like these are just, it's so easy to put a few things with each other to completely cause, and there's physical reactions and there's chemical reactions. What's the difference again? A physical reaction, you can reverse. A chemical reaction is what would you say, Jeremy?
It's just, chemists like created these things that they figured were wonder materials because, hey, we got these things called PCBs and they're great at making, high energy transformers and capacitors and stuff.
Just get rid of that pesky ozone, right?
Guess what? There's some side effects. And then, hey, we got all these great chemicals that we can use for film processing for the making film. And we got to make all these chemicals for developing film because there's a big industry for that. And guess what? Oh, well, there's some side effects with some of the chemicals we had to, the waste chemicals from this, industry process. And, those kind of destroyed the environment in these areas. So
that's George Carlin's whole thing. Like, what is the meaning of life? God made us to make plastic for the earth because the earth wants to eat the plastic.
Well, those are places you probably want to avoid unless you're, like looking for that kind of history and that sort of thing. But there's some,
So but they're pretty like so how you got these super densely populated areas and then those rural areas, you can't even get into them, right? Like they're kind of blocked off, or where are these?
Yeah. Well, one of them I mentioned we already covered was this this whole side of this. They cleaned up this one pretty much. Actually, get in anywhere here. They think there's fences and stuff. So this is highway that goes through here and stuff. And I was able to go here. There's like a waste dump, and it's weird, but this whole area is like blocked off. You can't get in there. And it said that all this stuff that they use to make the surface of this landing pad is, got crap in it. I don't know, some kind of bad stuff in it. I don't know exactly what it is, but this is one of the super fun sites I know of that you can get into. And there's all kinds of bunkers and hidden military shit in here. If you go out in the woods and stuff, there's like old school stuff, man. It's pretty cool.
How old do you mean?
Not like super old. No, not like the old forts. We mentioned most of the
like World War II and stuff, or like what?
Oh, yeah, World War II. Yeah, World War II.
Sweet.
They had a lot of these, what else is down here? Yeah, Duxbury is interesting. By the way, there's Carver, Mass, right here. We're here around here. Carver, Mass, big cranberry. All the cranberries, 90% of I think the cranberries in the world come from here. You know, there's just cranberry farms everywhere. All these are cranberry bogs. All these red, things are. There's massive cranberry farms all out here. Another thing that Carver's famous for is there's a Renaissance fair here called King Richard's Fair, and it operates in the fall time. And it's one of those places where they have real blacksmiths and shops and night. They have like competitions with fully with knights and stuff and all kinds of Renaissance games and people dress up. They have a king and queen you can go take pictures with if you got good enough costumes.
Sounds tight.
And
interesting how they have kind of this there's a conflict of interest here between the Gaelic pagan whatever kind of culture that's fun and libertarian, and then you've got like the witch hunt Puritan culture that simultaneously like super banned in Boston. People are banning books.
Yeah, they have Witch Weekend, and they all it's like big here because of the whole history of
banned in Boston and Witch Weekend. It's like talk about a dynamic.
Witch and Warlock Weekend, because
pick a side, Boston.
Pick a gender for your magic. Yeah. Anyways, the that's a cool area. Everywhere around here is this Lakeville's a whole bunch of lakes, good fishing and stuff. And Taunton, Mass was bought for a blanket and a couple bead necklaces from the whole land. The town hall like burnt down 3 times, so there's no records of like the old history of the town.
Wait, what's the name of the town again? Concord?
Taunton.
Taunton.
Interesting place. And then there's Dighton Rock. I've been here. If you look up Dighton Rock, so some of the old sites. Dighton Rock, if we want to go way back in old history, Dighton Rock, it was this rock out in the middle of the this boulder that was out with these mysterious markings. They dug it up and they brought it on shore and put it in this museum here. I think right here, maybe. Where's the Dighton Rock Museum? Pretty sure I put the museum here on here. My pictures actually came up on Google Earth as a Google guide because I got like hundreds of thousands, like a ton of views on them. And I don't know where this is. So this is down here where the state park is. This is where it is. This is where the Dighton Rock is. It's in this building right here.
It's covered. Why would they so wait?
They moved it and brought it in and put a shelter over it because they were worried about it getting damaged or defaced or they wanted to keep it in a museum like setting but you can all you have to do is call the park. There's like a number and they'll come down and open it up for you. You can go inside. But
here's a picture really quickly of Dighton Rock. I mean, it looks really interesting. It's got like runes carved into it, and it's
the petroglyph style.
It looks like
fascinating.
They have no idea who did it, and there's a whole bunch of theories of whether it was the Portuguese or Native Americans.
That looks Portuguese, right? Yeah. I mean, look at the weird.
It almost looks a little bit runic.
I got the Apache and the Hopi vibe, but then I saw this eye with the pyramid upside down. I was like, that's pretty base. The other thing is, it kind of looks like petrified wood. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't tell for sure from this picture, but. The kind of rock, like it does look kind of interesting. Look at that.
Aliens.
Alien. Got a lot of requests in the live chat for Castle Island. If you guys had that pulled up,
that was the first thing we looked at.
It's one of the first forts we looked at.
We'll go back to it if you want, just because it's kind of interesting. It's 22 acres, and this is Castle Island in Boston now.
Oh, wow!
That's not it.
Oh,
it says Castle Island, Boston. It says Boston.
That's not it.
Really?
That's another one.
Well, this is Castle Island Fort.
That's Castle Island.
That's the battery.
That's it. That's the battery. That's where Castle Island Park is.
That building right there, I think, is the thing we just looked at. This not there.
It away.
Oh, actually, it could be off
No,
the
it's
bigger
not.
island.
Castle Island. Oh, maybe they're lying to you. Oh, you know what?
Islands.
You know what I just did? I argued with a Boston man about Boston, and I lost. Okay, so that's not Boston. That was a lie. This is
It's not.
Boston, though. I
I
just
don't know
figured
why
it was
it
down
says-
there in the little.
Because
I
it's
was
on
just like,
the internet doesn't mean it's true. That's because you found it on the internet.
but you just told me that over the internet. It's trust issues.
Yeah, well,
No,
you get trust issues, man. I challenge anyone. Prove me
Okay.
wrong.
well, you got a little obelisk in front of a big old star, right? And so that is
Speaking of obelisks. There's another obelisk on Charlestown at Bunker Hill. So the
Here, I'll go back to you. You want to go back to your thing?
Yeah, that's the Bunker Hill Monument, and it's a giant obelisk on.
Look at that monolith, right? Exactly.
So there it is. So there it is. If you can see it in kind of 3D, it's a very, very tall erection.
Not bad. Yeah, they do like the monolith. It's a thing. It's a feature.
Yeah, it's cool, and they have there's a couple more. I don't know if there's.
I really liked the idea of the monolith obelisk as a the signaling tower, and just the amount of lighthouses and signaling towers, and the Library of Alexandria being a lighthouse and a signaling tower with a bell in it. So like these kind of combo monoliths they were used. It just seemed intuitive that the society would need the monolith to do something for them. Sometimes there's a light tower. What's that called? Where it's like the entire town's lit by a single.
I don't know about that. Entire town lit by a single light tower.
It's called someone can moonlight tower, right? A moonlight tower.
That was Nancy Hutchinson on the phone. Just called me. We do have a stream coming up with John and Nancy Hutchinson in 1 hour's time.
Very good. Okay.
Sweet.
Here's what it looks like. It's a moonlight tower, and it's light at the top of the tower, designed to light the entire town. A moonlight tower. So that way you don't need to have a bunch of little lights everywhere. You could just have one moonlight tower for the whole town, right? But the moonlight tower could double as the bell tower and the clock tower. It was like a Swiss watch of towers.
Oh, interesting. There's a number of towers in the suburbs out here too. So there's a Memorial Hill Tower there, and DW Fields Park in Brockton, Massachusetts.
This guy right here, yeah, as below. I'm sure. Are you thinking that in the there's underground? What do you think's underneath? Do you think there's anything underneath these towers, like basements or?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's kind of on the hill there. I don't believe so.
On the hill?
It's not. There's nothing. It's on a giant. It's on the top of a hill, and
I'm gonna get Biggs. If you're watching this, I think I saw you a second ago. If you're still in here, if you find anything about underground, under basements of the tower, because I know that you.
But there's like a stone floor. It's like a solid stone foundation.
Yeah.
Way around, and
They don't care. They're building. They're digging through stone. Some of these crazy tunnel systems, it's so insane. I mean, yeah.
Maybe I don't know. It's kind of crazy, but there's a whole history of that tower. DW. Well, this city's famous for Rocky Marciano, the boxer, was from here. Stoughton. So there's some interesting places out here with history. If you want to get into it, there's some place called. So we got Dighton Rock. We have. There's another rock out in Sharon, Mass. King Philip's Rock. So King Philip's War, Metacomet was King Philip. He was an Indian chief, and he waged war in this whole area for a long period of time. And the truce was actually formed at this to end the war was at King Philip's Rock, and you can hike out there and find it. It's and there's a whole bunch of Native American settlements that you hike out and you can find in these whole wetland and areas and stuff, including one that dates to Neolithic times with like this channel that lines up right with the.
Really? Oh, and super chats beyond belief.
Yeah, he's like, this other New Englander, I'm on point. Thank you. So I got $20 to back me up in a super chat.
That's super nice. And another 1123 from is that from Jeremy. Thank you, Jeremy.
So
Yes.
the Metacomet War, this whole area was a lot of swampland, and there's a triangle here known as the Hockomock Triangle, the Hockomock Swamp, and it's interesting. It's this big triangle of land where they drained most of this and put channeling in again to kind of like make it habitable, but it was all wetlands in a big swampy area originally from the area up here, actually. West Bridgewater, all throughout the Bridgewater and out to all the way, it extended down here to Freetown and Acushnet. So Freetown at the very end is Freetown State Forest. And there was these legends of these Pukwudgies that used to actually live out in the Freetown State Forest. The Indians would tell stories about they wouldn't go and they wouldn't go really in certain areas.
Where's Clinton, Massachusetts? Is that far from there?
Clinton, Mass.
Yeah, is that way far from there?
Clinton, Mass is up near Worcester area.
Okay.
No, it's.
I found some pictures of like
up
the
here.
relocation of the Central Massachusetts Railroad, and there's a number of other pictures in other spots as well. But it's interesting because there are all these tunnels being built and stones being laid afterwards, and then concrete is being laid. And
Clinton's
so the
got interesting architecture, a lot of interesting weird stone buildings, and a lot of old buildings in Clinton. Actually, that you mentioned that, so
it does seem interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I hear what you're saying. Sketch.
Worcester has a lot of that too. So Worcester, Providence used to have the Worcester Providence Railroad, and they used to have a canal. There used to be actually a canal with a bunch of locks all along the canal, so they could ship boats could come up here and ship goods right up the canal to Worcester. And then, so Worcester Providence was a big industrial capital and center way back in the day, and all these suburbs
with the dirt on the Beacon Hill obelisk is not the original. So apparently, they replaced it.
That Clinton, Mass, is also close to Princeton, where there's also skiing. When we mentioned skiing, there's another the other skiing in Massachusetts. The only other real ski area there is that I know of or been to is Wachusett Mountain, right here in Princeton, Mass, and it's a small mountain, 3 lifts. Nothing too crazy or serious, but yeah, that's out in the Worcester area. The Quabbin Reservoir is absolutely beautiful. There's bald eagles and all kinds of fishing and interesting hiking and places and camping out there.
Peter Santos says Dighton Rock has Viking runes on it as well as Portuguese coat of arms from the 1400s.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of different stuff. So I think there's several theories because of different things falling around the rock.
Okay.
I think a bunch of different people went through there and were like, all right, we're going to add our mark to the graffiti board here.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Yeah, everyone's coming to the rock and you're not even the first. Yeah, that's the way it should be. In my movie, Columbus gets to the board last.
Westover is a huge Air Force base up here in the Northeast. It's well protected way back there in north of Springfield. But yeah, Springfield, Agawam is where Six Flags is out. And speaking of more theme parks, the other thing too we were talking about is that
these amusement parks are kind of. Oh, the hill, the obelisk, the stone architecture in Clinton.
Yeah, the stone architecture.
Caves is good. Caves and tunnels is crazy because I was looking at all the caves and tunnels and excavations, and I mean, there's just a lot of examples of stone architecture above it in some of these places. So,
you want to talk about some interesting stuff? There's a lot of history right here in my area. Actually, number 1 on the list of historical markers is right in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, at the Slater Mill. So the mill here is number 1 on the list on the historic registrar of historic places. It was the first place to
The mills are interesting because they're usually run by it's a machine. It's a stone.
The whole
machine.
history of that is this guy Slater
is there mill punk
started building a dam across the river, and when all the river dried up to below, the residents down beneath kind of got like a little bit upset, and they were a bunch of people were trying to sue him. People sabotaged the dam, pulled it open, and tried to like wreck it during the construction. And eventually he got the dam built. And and was able to proceed with it. But this is the dam today, and he diverted the water channel. You get a water table up here, a reservoir that goes through. He built this a whole platform that goes underneath where the water actually flows underneath and through the wheelhouse right here. So there's a big giant wheel in this wheelhouse, and then all this machinery was attached to it on two different
automated. I saw a video recently of a guy who still runs like a 19th century water mill house to do metal cutting, and it's like one of the things he loves about it is he's not deaf, because his whole life the machine spinning, it's like a quieter way but you could hear the gentle clanking and everything. It's amazing.
These guys, Eli Whitney, and they stole the idea for the cotton gin and
wait. You got a conspiracy for Eli Whitney's cotton gin? Where'd he steal it from?
This is where it all started. I mean, they stole the machinery idea. The guy who started Slater Mill worked at another mill factory over in England, and he basically like ran out there, like left with the technology and went and started his own thing with using the knowledge that he had gotten. So he built this whole thing with like basically stolen knowledge and
that bastard. Are you kidding me? The whole thing.
He built it illegally. He was getting sued. He wasn't supposed to do it, and they went and did it anyway. But it ended up being
come he was getting sued by? So he built this in America, and then the British government wanted to. How is they going to sue him?
The locals, all the local landowners, the downstream in the Blackstone River and the Seekonk River.
What was he polluting it, or what was he doing that was so bad? Or
he shut the water flow off for a couple months, so he dammed up the river, and like it created this giant pond reservoir up above, and then he flooded a lot of areas upstream when the water level started rising, in this whole area. So like they had to build dams and barricades. And then, of course, it became so successful as a mill and production factory that they ended up.
He bribed his neighbors by hiring him. Yeah.
It was a prototype for other mills in the area, and it became a birthplace of the Industrial Revolution.
This is the way.
So, interesting history there. There used to be some there was a lot of horse race tracks around here way back in the day. They're all covered over and built over now. Let me think. What else did I want to mention? A couple things in Rhode Island that I wanted to talk about with the secret history. So Route 44 actually through Taunton's got some interesting ghost history. There's this hitchhiker with red hair that people see on the side of the road, and they stop, and then he disappears, and no one knows where it is. And there's also a woman that's been seen on this, so it's like a haunted highway. And there's all kinds of other like ghost stories in the Bridgewater Triangle, and UFO sightings, including one on Lake Nippanucket, which is right here. Yeah, the Lake Nippanucket. And there was a UFO sighting out here in the 70s of the UFO was like triangular, but it was shaped like a home plate, like the home plate base, so like square with a triangle on top. Interesting case. But
so like kind of like the 2000 patent for the ionic craft, the triangle, like
it was a big thing. It was probably during the 70s, but it was a large floating thing. It was like almost like a TR-3B or a triangle or something.
I have a new conspiracy about Flight of the Navigator. You know that movie Flight of the Navigator with Pee Wee Herman as the robot? Yeah. So found out recently that they lied about that movie. It is not CGI. They had to build a 27-foot craft and then like photo capture it so that they could put it in masking and stuff like that. But there's all this stuff about moving the thing around and bringing it to they had to film part of it in Norway or something like that. So they had to ship the boat, and they made a few different versions of them. I get the feeling they made a real flying saucer, not a saucer, but they made some kind of crazy tech, and they funded it with the finances of the film to make it look like it was just a movie.
A lot of fishing industry in this area. Maine's famous for lobsters. Narragansett Bay in Rhode Island's famous for quahogs and clams, and they have massive clam bakes. One of the largest snack halls and clam halls in the world was actually right out here at Rocky Point.
Isn't this kind of so? How far is this from where the blue crabs? With the $20,000, $100,000 for the blue blood of the blue crabs. Isn't that around here?
The Shore Diner Hall. Here it is. Yeah. So this is they have the horseshoe crabs. A lot of horseshoe crabs out in Cape Cod. A lot of naval research goes on out there at Woods Hole. So Woods Hole is right on Falmouth. That's right down here, the tip of Falmouth. So yeah.
What do you think about the horseshoe crab thing is interesting to me. Like, so it has this blue blood because it has not iron based, and so it's not rusting as copper based, or it's rusting, it's oxidizing blue. So I mean, this is like $100,000 or something for this crazy. In COVID, it was like a treatment to use horseshoe crab blood. There's like a whole bunch of people that were using this.
Really?
Yeah, antibacterial properties, and because copper's antibacterial, antimicrobial. So I mean, what do you think about this idea of like transhumanism, right? Using blood made of other materials. I remember hearing the idea of like titanium blood, so that your heart could stop and you could go visit the doctor next week and get your blood replaced a month later.
Crab people.
Is that what you'd call me if I got all my blood changed to blue crab blood? Would you call me crab people?
I don't know if you'd like what would happen to you, man. Would you start growing claws? No, I don't know. No,
That'd be sweet.
It might be. I don't know the science of that, man. It's a little. That's kind of like you're tinkering with some cool stuff. I mean, I'd rather trust something that Mother Nature made, like that. I don't know. Like, I think that I'd
try that before titanium blood too.
Or
yeah.
some of the big pharma like medications and stuff that they're putting out there, maybe, a little bit.
Someday I hope, guys, I'll do a GoFundMe and you can buy some crab blood, and then I'll do it on YouTube and you can I'll tell you how it feels, and then
Read
you'll
the
know
list of side effects carefully.
if it's better than adrenochrome or something.
Know your dosage. Anyways, yeah, so the Quonset Naval Air Station, lots of interesting naval stuff goes on out of there. Oh, I also wanted to mention the naval. There's another naval thing the Woods Hole. What else? U.S. Navy in this area. There's a lot of interesting companies down here. Newport, of course, U.S. Naval Undersea Warfare Center. So a lot of the submarine history and research actually went on here, and still goes on here at a place called Electric Boat. You ever heard of them before?
No, what's Electric Boat? I mean, is it a electric boat?
Electric Boat. No, they're a huge company, and you probably never heard of them before. But they do
for like tanking and shipments and stuff like that, like big boats or something.
Yeah, it's all boat. It's all boat electronics and boat power and boat everything. And there's a whole bunch of electric boat facilities, right? So down here, this is actually Connecticut. This is where their General Dynamics big factory is. Right down here. This is it. So this is where they build the submarines. Right here. This is where they're building subs. Cool place, right? They build all kinds of electric boats and other stuff too. So that they do a lot of undersea drone research and everything else. There's tons of classified stuff that we don't even know about.
The most interesting stuff. Like, everybody's worried about NASA. They should be more interested in submarine drones.
Right? Like all the private companies and development companies, like NASA probably doesn't know shit.
You heard of these big companies and corporations and stuff. A lot of the real information was lost in the mergers, honestly.
I think what it is that the thing exists in the military, and then 20 to 50 years later, like it is today, like 1970 to 2020, you start to see the emergence of corporations that the government semi-control that are bringing that technology to the consumer realm. But it's 50 years later. So like self-driving cars and things from Uber are going to start to emerge right now. But that's because they've already had that when they needed to have that for ships to make sure that they all could go at the same rate,
Yeah, so a lot of interesting stuff goes on at Woods Hole, U.S. Naval Station there, Coast Guard.
Silicon Valley is so cocky. Silicon Valley is literally 20 to 50 years behind DC and Boston for AI research, for instance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stuff. We got some crazy companies up here in Lincoln Labs up in Lincoln. Lots of let's just look up laboratories. Ready? You ever heard of a company called Factory Mutual?
That almost sounds familiar. I don't know though. No.
So Factory Mutual's got a big plant out here in Rhode Island, and they do fire research for like UL and like and ASTM and do standards testing, for like fire redundancy. So they'll be like, all right, well, you got this new sheetrock. We're gonna build a house. We're gonna build a house out of this using this sheetrock, and then we're gonna set it on fire. And we're gonna video it and take data and document exactly how your product performs in a real fire situation. You know what I mean? And they'll take anything on the market, they'll try to overload it, they'll try to break it and try to catch it. They have a whole facility there where there's people that they're like, Adam from Mythbusters, where their whole job is to just blow shit up, burn shit down on purpose. So cool companies and laboratories, but yeah, there's tons of scientific laboratories. And
super chat from Regulator 1, Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, Fort McCrary equals Star Fort. Do you know where you want to type in Fort McCrary really quick? Naval Shipyard.
Yeah, Portsmouth.
Ooh,
is that right? Oh, it's all remnants of the Star Fort.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love this. We love the sneaky. The sneaky's good when they're just like, you're like, yeah, what Star Fort?
wait,
There's no UNESCO heritage here. Go back.
Right. It's just like it's the layout.
Go back.
Where is that? Portsmouth, Rhode Island. That's in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So that's up, north. All right, that's interesting. Huh?
There's a lot all the way up through Labrador into Canada.
Oh, this hill, dude.
Fancy, and I just can't help but notice the Arabesque, connection there. Just the fact that they're super into stars. Yeah, I'm not saying that it necessarily means that they're Arabic, but the Arabic connection to the Muslims and that what we're seeing in Spain and Italy, that the architecture especially, similar people, same people, kids of the fathers of the architects.
Oh, tunnels.
There you go, tunnels.
There
are so many tunnels.
Oh yeah, speaking of some tunnel forts, I didn't get to the ones up in Narragansett either in Hull. Oh yeah, because look at this. Yeah, all right. So you want to see some stuff like this?
Yeah, this is great. I mean, because everyone thinks, again, like you said,
I will be right back.
They're saying it's like Etch-a-Sketch, and it's not Etch-a-Sketch. It's there are places that are Etch-a-Sketch, but then there's some solid anthill.
All right, up here, I know there's some. Is it up here where the gun batteries are? It's on the hill in up here in there's a fort up here in Hull. I've been there, up on the hill, and there's these damn forts. So no, hold on. So this is where's the windmill? There's the high school, and there's the big windmill. Right here.
Dude, apple scrabble with the sassafras and the transatlantic. I wouldn't say started the transatlantic trade, but definitely cat and sassafras are very associated concepts with the spice run. Yeah.
You see these right here?
Huh. What is this? Interesting. It's almost like Orion.
Hull right here on the edge. So this is the port of Boston. This is where the ships have to
the Fort McCrary. There you go.
Come through here. I believe there's some out here on Deer Island and stuff too, and then there's a couple. There's some out here. Fort Warren. Yes, look at this. Fort Warren, Star Fort. Fort Warren, out on the island. See this one?
Wow.
Look at those gun batteries. So there's one here.
Yeah, see, these are amazing. I mean, these huge guns, bigger than fire trucks, that would be bolted to those things because they had to be.
What I'm interested in is like the underlayers and where LiDAR will be so important with this, because that entire island looks man-made, as do so many of these Star Fort islands. And it's like they would have had to been made at a time that's like pre-industrial overall, right? And it's like you look at what China's doing in the South China Sea and what like Dubai's doing in the United Arab Emirates, and like they're having issues just making their islands that are similar sized as each one of these Starfort islands today with just the resources. Yet it looks like each of these were built before the forts were built.
I don't know. China seems to be doing just fine. China,
Yeah, okay. China's definitely doing fine in those reefs. It's crazy. Yeah. They got like under ocean sub base or something, and like the
dude, these take like literally 100 days. So what they do is they got a boat here, and he's got a little pump, and he's pulling sand up from underneath, and then he's pouring it on the top. And what's beautiful is feedback loops, because once you start it, then it starts to grow. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing with nature.
All right, so these gun batteries out here. So Fort Revere Park it's called Fort Revere Park. Okay, so Fort Revere Park in Hull.
Joss says Portsmouth in England is nicknamed Pompey. That's pretty.
Another watchtower, right? One if by land.
Oh wow! How many sides is it? An octagon? It looks like it is. I can tell. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, it's got to be octagon. Yeah.
They love it. They love their eggs.
Batteries, and look at these are the tunnels, like the little spots underneath.
So, like, yeah, those guns are shooting shells that are bigger than a 2x4, and so they need to be bolted down to concrete so many different ways, or else they'll just fly off like 20 feet the other direction, the way a bullet would fly.
Cool. Yeah.
Jumpin' 42 says, I appreciate that. You're beautiful.
All right, let me find some more cool places. All right, yeah. See, now I'm showing you guys some cool spots. You want to talk about some history? I've been to some cool spots.
These are some big spots.
All right, let's keep going. So the gun battery's there, right? There's more gun batteries down here in Newport. If you go right over here, this is Jamestown Island, right between Newport, right? So Newport's famous. This is where the breakers are. This is all the they have all these elaborate mansions built by the Vanderbilts, like the 18th century railroad barons and other wealthy the billionaires of their day, and they built these exquisite palaces, rival with the kings of and palaces in Europe and stuff, and so these are their homes. No detail was spared, man. On the construction of these things. And
this is where we need to live. You know what I mean? This is the way.
Dude, look at the staircase. Dude.
That's
another one of those staircases that like they don't know how, like it's like it was masterfully put together, like that one stair. There's like a staircase like this that no one knows who built it. Like the guy who built it for this church, they think he was like a 33rd degree Mason who did it as his like initiation project, because you have to do like a really complex project for like the community anonymously, and then he never came back and got his final payment. Weird stuff like that. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
It's really strange that he would so he built this thing, disappeared. Maybe it was because he had to spend his money because he's a pirate, but I love the whole anonymous.
This isn't the one there. Hold on. There's another one this is the Santa Fe, New Mexico, the gravity defying staircase. This one I come across before. This is a little bit different. This is much more complex and much more difficult to build than the one in the Vanderbilt's house. This one, again, it was built between 1873 and 1878 by a mysterious carpenter. And they said the church thinks it was Saint Joseph. They're just like, they don't know who built the
a magical thing. That's crazy. So you got
Santa Fe. So that one's the Loretto staircase. It's called. I said it's a miracle because the carpenter built it and then he never returned for the final payment, and didn't really even take much payment for it in the first place.
I hope they didn't just take him out so they didn't have to pay him, and we're just like, ooh, yeah. It's a wild town. You gotta admit, there's sailors everywhere, pirates and smugglers. A lot of things could happen to a guy who builds fine stairways. They could throw him down his own stairway. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's the same guy who built this the staircases and some of that one we just looked at. In any case, yeah, this one right here. Where is this? This is in the Marble House. So again, Marble House is just one of these mansions. There's a whole bunch of other ones with different, they're off the chain though. This is some serious stuff. If you ever come to this area and you want to go check out,
Wow. I mean, yeah, this is
do the mansion tours, dude. These guys.
New England. Oh, I want that bath. What is the deal with that? Are you supposed to, is it monkey bars? Like, what do you do? Do you climb the bath? Is this a 2-person bath?
I don't know what's a handicapped support and what's.
Oh yeah. Or it could be for shower curtain.
It's interesting plumbing.
Probably, yeah.
Fascinating.
I love those old tubs, man. They're so cool. Yeah.
Grab me my pipe and slippers. I'm gonna go and sit. I would just sit there and read a book, dude. That would, Oh God, what a great place, huh? Love it. I love it. Go check it out. Belcourt. The cliff walk is also cool. Of course, parts of it always fall into the ocean. It's a 5-mile, hike along the beach and shore.
Beautiful. And you can see how the stones laid on the coast to keep its shape.
And I think Taylor Swift's house is somewhere around here too. It's classified
for her,
her address or nothing.
That's what I would do too, because like I'm as a Californian, like a beach house is a thing. You want it, but it's got to be somewhere where there's a lot of gray and cold. If you're creative, you need to have because you gotta get the feelings, So
yeah, they don't. If it she tries to kick my buddy, he's a fisherman, and she tries to have her security guards kick him off.
No, really, he can't go fishing. That's horrible.
He's like, dude, I'm not here for Taylor Swift. I'm really actually here to go fishing, and here's my. You'll have to.
Okay. I
He
believe you somehow.
He's like, I ain't going nowhere. In fact, I'm gonna fish here all day, just for that, because I can, just to show you guys. Don't talk to me like that. I'm not here for Taylor Swift. But anyways, I think this might be her mansion right here.
Ooh.
Yeah, for me though. All right.
Hey, go Zumbo. I want to see Taylor Swift's mansion. Oh, that's beyond just a mansion, It's Taylor Swift's mansion, but it's a freaking castle that is a cult. Look at that weird. What is that? That's an open. She's got a giant garden area there.
Overlook. All the bedrooms can see who's pulling in that circle.
It's marvelous.
That drop off. I think there's garages over here and stuff too.
Tennis courts. You gotta have a tennis court. Taylor Swift.
That's probably friggin'. Look at this patio out here on this deck. You can have a wedding.
It just looks so freaking occult though too. There's that weird cross with the the Celtic cross.
Yeah.
A lot going on there. Good job, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's on Ocean Ave. I've been down here. This is a great spot too. This little beach and stuff. This little area. All this area is just beautiful. All these rock places some of you can just go out on and hang out. The cliff walk over here, and then of course Fort Adams up there, that other star fort, Fort Wetherill. So there's more of these gun batteries right here, underground tunnels, underground bunkers anyway, just for shelters. I don't think they were anything super elaborate, underground bases or anything. Definitely some stuff. And then there's other ones over here on Jamestown, right out here, I believe.
Jamestown.
Yeah, Connecticut Battery History Park. Yeah, so there's more batteries and there's some underground bunker right here. This was on the top of the hill. It was like a watchtower at one point.
Oh God, we have the porn bots attacking. Moderators, please delete them.
Here, I'll block the user.
Yeah.
I wish they would just pay me because if you wanted to have product placement, you know what I mean?
But yeah, this was a star fort right here. Look at this. This is where the old Fort Connecticut was. Look at that.
We need to do? We need to buy a site like that, that's just sex-88.suite or something, and then make that a Tartarian research site. I own magic.sexy. That could easily be.
You could probably, I don't know, you could do this on this site. It's a historical site, but I mean, if you could, you'd have to.
Wait, zoom in there.
Jamestown's a small community, so if you got like massive support down there for something somehow, but they're real old school out there. They're like.
Oh no, I just meant the website. There's somebody who was in the chat. It was, they're like a spam bot. Zoom in though. I'd like to see the oh, there you go. Yeah, computer, bring us into Massachusetts.
Fort Getty Park. So those are these batteries again. Little. This is Rhode Island actually, not Massachusetts.
Is that a bird nest? There's like a bird nest on the top of the thing.
This is Rhode Island. The Plum Beach Lighthouse. This is the famous lighthouse that's on Rhode Island. If you're free.
Ishkan says he went to dinner at Elron's. If you're saying you went to dinner at L. Ron Hubbard's, get in the Discord and talk to me about that. Clearly, like that's immediately.
So famous people from Rhode Island. Edgar Allan Poe is buried here, I believe. Wait, no, Edgar Allan Poe burial location.
I am like a spam bot. I am not a spam bot. I changed the punctuation to make it funny.
No, he's buried in Baltimore. Sorry.
Ishkan says he wasn't alive. Yeah, well, you know what? Then I don't know. Your story doesn't add up because L. Ron Hubbard never died. He just went OT8 and he just like no longer needed his physical body.
You know whose grave is here though?
Like Elvis.
Looked it up. Is H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, really? I know he was weird about these things. Like he wouldn't fly. He wouldn't go into tunnel. He wouldn't take the metro. He didn't like boats. He's freaked out by boats.
There's the H.P. Lovecraft home.
Here we go. H.P. Lovecraft.
Amazon cogging the.
It's definitely cleaned up a bit, right? Like, did it look like that? Or, I mean, it wasn't that long ago, I guess. So it could have been that style.
No,
very American Gothic.
Changed up a little bit, but his grave is over in Swan Point Cemetery, and I have a picture of myself with that grave. Yeah, the grave of H.P. Lovecraft. It's right here. There's a ton of people leave all kinds of weird stuff on his grave. Yeah.
What even is that? Like a rock? I don't even see a circle thing. Interesting. Pumpkins, very nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Dude was an agoraphobe, which I wanted to try to do this joke earlier. I don't know how I'm gonna make it work. But because Socrates was from Agora and he would like walk around Agora. And so a lot of Greeks were really agoraphobic because they were worried Socrates would come up to them.
Yeah. Interesting that some famous people. There was a big granite place in Westerly, Rhode Island. The whole history of Westerly granite, right? There's the biggest quarry. There's a whole documentary on the quarry here. If you can find it on YouTube. There's a whole documentary on Westerly, Rhode Island granite and the whole history of the granite industry. And I'll have to find it and link to it. But yeah, there tons of granite was mined out of, and stone was mined out of Westerly, Rhode Island. It had some of the best quality granites in the country. And then also out of Quincy, Massachusetts, there's a place called the Quincy Quarries where they mined a ton of granite out of it as well for all the churches in Boston and all these star forts. That's where actually they mined all the source granite for these locations from.
Interesting. So when they mine granite, do they try to like quarry and cut the stone, or do they also? Because I heard that they can mix it, like the Lincoln Memorial is like concrete from granite. It's like poured granite or something. They powder whatever's left from chipped granite, they poured it together.
Yeah, they can take like pieces of it and make like a new form, I think. I don't know if it's as strong as natural granite, but they do like a lot of pressure and heat treatments to it to simulate the processes within the earth that create these stones naturally. So
not bad. And is the quartz crystal, like, can you help crystal grow through the concrete to make crystal bonds to keep it stronger? Is that like a thing?
I don't know, because that metallic glass has actually stronger properties than crystal. So
and flexible too. Crystals can stronger. Crystals would chip. You're a good point. Granted, geopolymers exist, Alchemist says, but yeah, your point is well taken.
Glass that like shatter, and certain types of things they shatter. So certain types of material that are stronger. Tons of people go here with spray paint to decorate the walls and climb up to crazier heights. And this is like this was all like a hill that they literally dug all this granite out of, and this was all the granite that had too much fissures and cracks. It was deemed unusable for construction, so they left it.
Well, Bernie's got a point. We got a Hutchinson stream in 20 minutes, so we should start either winding down or figuring out how we're gonna continue. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just winding down. I'm just showing some cool sites out here. If you're in Boston or this area, to go and visit, the Quincy Quarries is definitely an interesting stop on the list. To place.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, the thing is that I love Google Map tours of star forts, but I'd love it even more because you're from there. You're there right now, so you're able to really share. You're like, oh yeah, my brother was there. I was here. This is where I went to. This is a lot bigger than just us looking at a map on Google without knowing about what we're looking at. So it's epic. So thank you for that.
Yeah, Freetown Ledge. So this is where Reagan, I think, saw a UFO during the 80s.
Right. Yeah. Oh man.
And
so that's crazy because it's right after his wife and him do the Helsinki trip, right?
Right. So this is a ledge. It's one of the Pukwudgie sites out in the Freetown State Forest, and it's kind of notorious for this. But it's an interesting spot. The Quincy Quarries kind of remind me of this spot a lot, as you can see. They look very similar, all decorated in spray paint. And but it wasn't actually a quarry site out here. This is just a natural ledge, just out there in the middle of the forest. It's really quite.
Oh, I think is me John Bernie. That might be him.
Yeah. Oh, who? What?
I think me in the chat is John.
Me in the chat is John.
Yeah, is that John Hutchinson?
Oh no, that's not Hutchinson. That's someone else. I've actually got the Hutchinsons already in the back room of the other StreamYard of the link that we're going to be doing with Charlie C. I emailed the link to both of you, Xirtus and Jeremy.
Jeremy, you should jump on if you feel like it.
Joining in with us soon too.
Yeah, I think this is a good, based tour of Boston and Providence.
This is a base tour of Boston. That's exactly what it is. It's super based.
Epic base, the foundations of Boston, a 2-hour epicness.
Yeah, what's left of it? You can do the Freedom Trail in Boston. If you go there, I would recommend walking the Freedom Trail and checking out all the sites on that. It goes through the North End and down here through Boston Common, across Beacon Hill, State House. Around Boston Common, the Boston Public Gardens, the Swan. It's a beautiful place to go visit. They have the swan boats in the summertime. It's a romantic city. And it's had a lot of inspiration from Europe. And it was named after Boston in England, So
and founded by Blackstone, which is interesting. Just imagine how there's another world very close to this one in the metaverse where Boston is Blackstone.
Yeah, it's interesting because Blackstone River goes through up through Providence. Pawtucket here and stuff, and it's the Blackstone River Valley is all this area down in Rhode Island. So I wonder if they were related at all.
And then you know what? Good sci-fi show called Fringe that takes place in Boston. You know what? It should have taken place in Blackstone. That would have been season 5 proper if they did it right. Sorry, J.J. Abrams. I'm just saying you could have done more. No, it's still good that they did a show about MK Ultra. I'm not complaining.
This is a naval academy down here where they train sailors, Mass Maritime. It's also a stop down they have a biking tour. They start up in North Adams, Mass, which is the farthest, northwest town. One of them, anyways. And they start in North Adams, and they ride their bikes literally across all of Massachusetts, and they end in Provincetown. It's called the Pan Mass Challenge. To ride your bike, a 3-day event, across all of Massachusetts. And there's a bunch of crazy people that actually do it. And That's super interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. So also you should show, because my channel is also streaming, show them where they can watch more of your videos. Show them the Alien Scientist link channel on YouTube.
Okay, yeah. I'll give a quick plug to my channel. So,
Because guys, he's got, it's like what? You're well above 100,000 now,
yeah, but they shadow ban the heck out of me with all this stuff. So I'm only getting 3,000 a video. Every once in a while, I'll get a little bit more if I talk about popular topics, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like your videos are amazing. Like this is
I
the
get
thing.
into nuts and bolts, dude. And I don't try. I try to like get super factual and then just be like on point with the intel and stuff.
Yeah, that's the thing. Your channel's not a bunch of hubbubaloo. It's all about repeatable experiments. That's one of the things I continuously come back to your channel for, is either repeatable experiments and also critical verification. Just going through and checking out whether something is legit scientifically.
And I have a lot of opinions on stuff too. I get people like, "Oh, this guy's super opinionated." If you come from,
I like your opinions. You're from Boston,
I'm just trying to it is what it is, and I've been doing this a long time, so it's.
Julia says she's loving the Starford tour. So by the way, you're showing people stuff So I mean, we love that.
Yeah, this is good stuff. It's knowledge that I have, and I'm like, oh, this is something I was watching you guys do the thing on Boston. I'm like, I know so much about this area. I could just go off for like 2 hours. What are we at? 2 hours. 2 hours. I just been going off about just places.
Dude, there's still like way more we can go. That's why I want to get you and Stefan at some point. We'll talk about it, because like Massachusetts and the entire New England area, and then connecting the dots across Vikings, Spaniards, British, Dutch, East Indies Company, the Victoria, all these different groups that are amazing.
Before we end, I'd just like to point out that there's a tower in Turo Park in Newport, Rhode Island here, right? You look up Turo Park because that's, I don't know if it's Spanish or what for Turo Park, Newport, Rhode Island, okay? There's a tower here in Newport, and nobody knows who built it. Right there. Oh, you can't really see it from there, but here you can see it right there. See this tower? It looks like the bottom of an old windmill. Like they
cut it down. Oh, see, this is the theory. This is the thing we keep looking at. The idea, like you saw the Liberty Bell. It looks like the arc weld destroyed it. They destroyed all the bells, destroyed all the wind turbines, took out all the mills, all the infrastructure. I mean, that looks like it could be a signaling tower. Who knows what it was?
But it wouldn't be out of place in Scandinavia.
Not at all. In San Francisco, we have a Dutch windmill that looks at the base of it looks exactly like this, and then it's built on top of it with gears and mechanisms.
Right. So a lot of people think that this was Vikings.
They took it down. They took down the windmill because they didn't want them to have infrastructure. All they had was teepees. It was a stone wall. Go back to sleep. That's what they tell us.
Predates, yeah. And
I like that it's in Turo too, because Turo is, there's always that question about those vowels and that sound.
It's called Turo Park. Yeah, that tower's right there, and nobody really knows who built it. But it's cool. I never seen it from above.
That's the best kind of story. Nobody knows who built it.
Nope, nobody knows who built it. And according to the history of the Narragansett Indians out on Aquidneck Island, which Aquidneck Island is this is a Aquidneck Island right here, and that's basically all of Newport and Portsmouth, Rhode Island. But all of this was, according to Roger Williams' histories of the Rhode Island, he said that the Narragansett Indians out here had red hair. Some of them had red hair.
Right. Yeah. And there's a bunch of linguistic evidence of Celtic and Gaelic in some of the different tribes' languages, from the Arawak and the Algonquin and the Choctaw. And there was another one, but I forget right now.
Yep. Yeah, so the lots of interesting, history here in this town, and lots of like crazy pirate history too. There's a number of books that have been written about all the pirate stories of Newport and
Croatoan. The Croatoan Indian. I always try to remember it's Croatian, Croatoan Indians. So they have red hair and they had some Celtic words in their language.
Oh, that was it. Yeah. I guess the Narragansett maybe two, or one of them, one of these tribes out here. Maybe it wasn't the Narragansetts.
Jeremy, we should do more East Coast and Star Fort digging. Actually, I think this is a good thing. The map thing, this is awesome. But also, yeah, if you're down, like jump in. We got the link for you. Jump in and let's join in the real science thing we're about to do with John Hutchinson. You can get critical, and we can verify some stuff. I know you've done a lot of stuff, so if you're exhausted, it's cool. But just feel welcome,
I've never heard of this place before. I guess they do tubing and some skiing and stuff. Huh. It's interesting when it's I don't know if it's closed for the winter or what, but I never heard about this place. Yagu. Oh, that's Camp Yagu.
Camp Yagu.
Yeah, I went there for Boy Scouts when I was younger, man. They have Camp Yagu down in this is a
Japanese sounding name,
This is right near URI, University of Rhode Island, down in Kingston. So cool, and they have another URI has another campus down here on the island. This is where the NASA scientist we were talking about was from. But anyways, we're gonna go jump over to Bernie's stream and enough on local history and everything about this whole area. I could go on for a lot longer about everything around here.
Let's do it. We'll do it though. Let's get Stefan on and let's do abandoned Boston thing again. I like the idea of talking about Boston and the East Coast.
Yeah, because we could get into just the city of Boston. I was talking about the whole surrounding area, and I wanted to incorporate Rhode Island because I live there, and I just wanted this whole area. But we could get into a whole 2 hours just on Boston,
the center town, downtown. All right, guys, don't go away. Just jump into the next stream. It'll be starting in about 20 minutes the most, I think. We're about to get going. So just wait. Go to the Twitter, go to the Discord, go to the YouTube, go to charternova.com, buy my shirts. And in the meantime, also make sure you support Jeremy Reese, Bernard. You go to Crypto Alchemist, and you can get on both. Watch both of our videos. Watch the video from all the streams at the same time. Just fight the power. Just fight the power, everybody. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.
Oh,
if you ever come to park your car in Harvard Yard or Boston Harbor, just drop me an email.
What the heck? We hear you for the first 3 seconds.
It's like
and then it goes
it's
quiet.
it's like Persians, but like the R is an apostrophe. All right, well, we'll see you guys in a minute.
R's are A's and A's are R's.
You know what I'm saying?
Repeat.
Should learn that in kindergarten,
Pizzeria Regina.